Good communication means successful communication.
Good communication is conveying a message and being sure the receiver understands it.
Good communication means clearly and concisely transmitting accurate information in a way that everyone will have the same interpretation of that information.
Good communication to me means being able to speaking clearly, maintaining good eye contact, and being able to understand what it is the patron wants.
Good communication is the effective transmission of ideas among people. It's clear writing and speaking, and that's balanced with good listening, leading to the comprehension of the subject of those ideas that people are trying to relate to each other.
Good communication is a lot more than just telling or disseminating information. It's actually about listening.
I think good communication has more to do with listening than talking.
We define communication as when two people exchange a mutual idea with symbols that they both understand.
I think that good communication is when we have a successful exchange of ideas, beliefs, opinions, thoughts, attitudes between individuals or a group of individuals.
I think that good communication is a transfer of ideas.
It's conveying needs.
Talking clearly and being understood.
I think that good communication means having an ability to convey and be understood.
Good communication means that you're able to deal with people and situations just by looking at the signals that the people that you're talking to send out, making sure you control the signals you're sending out, and looking at the whole situation around you.
Good communication is an understanding of both verbal and nonverbal cues, and it's with eye contact, concise information, and simple gestures.
I think good communication is when the information that the messenger intended to convey is received exactly as the sender intended.
The sender's intended message matches or is equal to the receiver's perception.
It involves actually understanding what's being spoken to you so that you can respond in a correct manner.
So we always have to be on that level that they understood what we are talking about and what we are telling and dealing with.
We need to be able to use both our listening skills as well as our verbal skills to communicate.
One person had an idea and that same idea was transferred to the second person. So at the end of that communication process, both of them have the exact same idea.
Making sure everyone is on the same page, especially when it comes to group work.
Keeping everyone informed of what's going on in the library.
And I think that involves a lot of feedback from the speaker and from the listener.
Conveying information in a way that the person you're communicating with can understand.
It's really important to ask open-ended or leading questions. Try to elicit responses and listen to those.
That would probably be when employees don't understand what each department does.
For this unit, it would mean misdirecting patrons, not being able to set appointments for the staff that are here, and misdirecting calls.
Another problem with miscommunication, I think, sometimes is they come in and they only have a little partial part of what they're looking for instead of the whole amount, and we have to do a lot of asking, and hopefully we'll get to the solution that we need.
With outreach, a common problem with the miscommunications is not having correct information.
A common problem is not giving all the essential details of a task or a project that are required in order to carry out everything to the last detail up front.
The problem that I've run into quite a bit has to do with the language barrier. I can't understand what the people are asking, what they're wanting. So what I do is ask that person to write down the name of the book and the author, and then we can try to track it down that way.
Not listening, or maybe you just get distracted by something and you think you've already heard it, so you miss something important and then you don't know what's going on.
Well, periodically, we as librarians answer questions to our customers' queries with library jargon.
Not using common vocabulary is a big stumbling block for technical services. Inventory in retail is something that's totally different from inventory in technical services. To us, inventory is making a barcode record, and in retail, it's counting items. So terminology is important in good communication.
When a patron goes to one branch or to one librarian and is told one thing, and possibly goes to another branch or another librarian and an exception is made or maybe an exception is not made, and I think sometimes that results in a lack of communication because it seems like they're being told two completely different things.
I think a good example is if some employees enforce our policies and others don't. This results in a miscommunication with patrons, leaving them confused and unhappy.
You should never assume something when you're communicating with someone.
Often we're too literal. We give them exactly what they ask for.
Talking too fast. Nonverbal elements of communication that can lead to conflict because people aren't aware of what they are.
This means don't assume that they want a cookbook when they're asking for alligator pie.
They don't really want the directions to the church. They want a biography of the pastor that was their ancestor.
Sometimes you have to ask a little bit more to understand what they're looking for.
The main circulation desk here at Hughes is kind of mission central for everything that goes on at the library here. People come in and ask us where they need to go to have their issues taken care of. They come in and ask where they would find materials. We kind of make sure that everybody gets to the place they need to be. And if you can't communicate well with people, they're going to be very frustrated and you're not going to deliver good customer satisfaction at the end.
Without the communication, we wouldn't be able to function as a unit and function as well as we do.
It's not just important to our unit, it's critical. It's the main element of the reference process. If you don't really understand what they're asking, you can't help them.
The major purpose of information services is to communicate information to the public. And the extent to which we understand what patrons need and communicate what we know, that's the measure of our success.
Good communication is really important because we have two different departments within outreach services. We have the bookmobile and homebound, so we have to know which patron we're talking about, either it's bookmobile or either it's homebound. So we have to have good communication in order to get our job done and get it done effectively.
It's important for this unit so that I can, one, forward calls to the right departments or right staff. I can answer patrons with accuracy.
If we can't communicate the message well, then people end up sitting there and they're not actually walking away from our training or learning sessions having gotten any beneficial information.
Well, we're the front lines at the desk with all of our patrons, so it's just important that we stay open and seem helpful and willing to be there and listen.
It helps us to function efficiently as a branch.
Allow for elements that are important in the workplace like trust and respect, etc., to be formed among coworkers.
It's important to us to understand why policies are in place so that we can then present that correctly to the patrons themselves. And we want to be able to tell them exactly why we do what we do so that we can explain that in the best way possible and so that they are satisfied with why certain policies are in place.
You can make sure to communicate with your other coworkers so that when that patron comes back in, they can answer the questions sufficiently.
It's imperative that we have complete communication with each other so we can locate the people who we're trying to find.
We don't see each other a lot of the time, so we use email, so the written word's very important in our communication.
And that's how we know what's going on, even if we don't see somebody on a daily basis.
Good communication is important to our unit so that we can understand and respond to our patrons and get to their needs as quickly as possible.
It brings everyone together, working as a unit, getting to the same goal.